Welcome to the Raynin Threes podcast with Alan Ray and Mike O'Connell. Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of the Raynin Threes podcast. I'm your host, Mike O'Connell, here with the Naismith Player of the Year finalist and AP All-American, Alan Ray. Hey, Ray, I hope you had as much fun as I did on Friday, man. How we doing?
I did. I had a lot of fun at the watch party. It was actually hilarious. It was hilarious, and it was a good time. And it was good to meet you guys finally for the first time. Thought you guys were a lot taller in person, but, you know.
That's hilarious.
I'm just messing with you. But, yeah, I had a great time. Appreciate everybody that showed up and came to support us. I didn't know what to expect at first. I didn't know who was going to show up, how many people was going to show up. But it turned out to be a really great event, and a lot of people showed up. I met a lot of people, had a lot of great convos. So, yeah, I would say that it was a success, and just want to say thank you for everybody who showed up and watched the game with us.
Yeah,
we need to do more.
Yeah, no, we're this is the first of hopefully many, man, and yeah, it was a resounding success. I like to think so as well. I mean, we packed the house. Right. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Like it was shoulder to shoulder in there for a good majority of the game, and saw a lot of faces I hadn't seen in a while. Saw some people that I hadn't met before that were just supporters of the podcast, and the owner of the bar was absolutely blown away with how many people showed up. He honestly did not think that the amount of people we brought was going to be, in actuality, who would show up. And I think they were a little overwhelmed by us a little bit, but yeah, in a good way, man, because the energy was up, the vibes were high, the Wildcats were playing well, especially at the beginning of the game. But what was usually a Providence bar, the Villanova fans showed up and really established themselves as a prominent force at Shaffer's in New York City. So what was, considered a Providence bar was a Villanova bar, at least for Friday night and whenever we had Raynin Threes in the house. So shout out to everybody that came out, showed love, showed support, because like you said, hey, Ray, we'll definitely do that again soon.
Yeah, I definitely peeped that too. There was a lot of Providence fans in there.
At first,
prior to our game. And then we kind of just like ran them out the bar. But it was a lot going on that day too, man. Don't forget, we was watching that game, and what was his name? I don't want to mess his name up, from Providence, and he punched the other dude in the face. He didn't really punch him, but he like hit him in the face. From Kansas State. But the Dual, I guess that's his name, from Providence.
Yeah, let me double check it for you, because it was literally like I couldn't believe what had happened. Like, one, I was like, I'll watch this game go to overtime, so it screws us over, and it's gonna push the Villanova game back. We're not gonna be able to watch the beginning.
Yeah,
and it was it was out of control because two guys got ejected. The game, of course, the referees then have to go look at the monitor, and it takes so much time to just assess everything. And even though there was like 4 seconds left on the clock or wherever it was.
Exactly.
The game was over at that point because Kansas State was up 5. And hold on, let's see. It was crazy.
But the dude from Kansas State did hit him, though.
Yeah, Dual and Ames. So
Ames, okay.
Ames from Kansas State. And he clocked him, man. He clocked him. It really was pretty unbelievable. Because at first, like they were starting to get into a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay, that's nothing. And all of a sudden, boom. It's like,
yeah,
whoa! And like, did I just see what I just saw? And
so
we had that happen. It was crazy.
Uh-huh. It looked like Ames was like quick with it. Like he balled his fist and everything, and just like gave him a quick shot. And unfortunately, the Providence guy got the, how can I say it, the worst end of the stick at that point, because all the cameras, all eyes was on him as he just like hit the other dude. But it do look like that he went to go hit him, but he kind of held back a little bit. It looked like something in his head was like, nah, don't do it. Because he had a chance to like really hit the dude and just like lay him out, but he kind of held back a little bit. But it's been a little testy, a little bit feisty in this last week. Draymond
Right.
Green, chokehold. You got the Providence fight. What else happened? Something else happened.
Shaheen Holloway.
Yeah, Shaheen Holloway and his antics. So it's been a little feisty last week in college basketball, I must say.
Yeah, no doubt. You were like, "Oh, come on, Shy. You got to deal with this off camera. Don't be doing this in the freaking shaking hands in the post game
It,
lineup. Like, come on."
exactly, man. It's like the Juwan Howard effect for real.
Right. No,
Like
totally.
seriously. And I mean, I'm not judging anybody, but at the end of the day, you can't handle that right then and there. Like, because emotions are going to get the best of you 9 times out of 10. If there is a problem, and I'm sure the problem Shaheen Holloway had, I'm hearing is because like Donald's team was pressing with the game already won by Seton Hall. He got upset about that.
Right.
Like that's nothing to get upset about, and like to do that on the line to at the end of the game where you're supposed to be sportsmanlike, show sportsmanship, like this just wasn't the time for it. And if you had a problem, just address it after the game in the tunnel or face to face with him, because Donald was a Seton Hall alumni too. On top of that, you know what I'm saying? So like it was just kind of messed up for him to do that, especially to Donald, but just to do it to anybody on the line. But I just don't understand. At that moment, that's just not the right time to let your emotions get the best of you.
I totally thought it was going to escalate from what that situation was to what Juwan Howard, Greg Gard, what we witnessed with Wisconsin and Michigan. But it didn't.
Well, Donald Copeland, he's like light skinned, so you don't got to worry about him retaliating. So that's why I wasn't going any further than that.
Well, the retaliation from Duval on Providence, that, like you said, that was whenever you retaliate, no matter what sport it is, football, basketball, baseball, you are gonna be get the brunt of the blame, and it's always gonna look worse, the retaliation wise, versus then the person that kind of poked the bear. So, like you said, very feisty last week or so in the basketball world, especially Big East being, Seton Hall and Providence involved so heavily as well. But let's get into the Nova Maryland game, because Ray, all of a sudden we look up and it's 20-6 in the first 7-8 minutes of the game, and you're like, whoa, like the team must have been fired up. The Mikal Bridges jersey retirement ceremony, I know, definitely had energy vibes up in the pavilion. Mikal was in the locker room prior to the game. He gave a great speech at center court when they were honoring him and his family. I thought it was a really special thing. Obviously, we were in person. Shout out to everybody that was at the Finn for that. If you weren't at Schaefer's, you best have been at the Finn. But I thought that we came out and really responded, like what Coach Howard had mentioned to us last week, that everyone is in position that they know they need to respond. And that's exactly what they came out and did. Came out with some serious energy, like they had a fire under their rear end, and they the game was over pretty much in a matter of minutes, 17-3, then 20-6. And at one point, Ray, they were up 30. It was like an unbelievable situation where Maryland couldn't score. Like 4 minutes into the second half, Ray, it was 46-15. Like that, that is like a what? It's a head scratching type of score if you hadn't watched the game up to that point. And it was just an incredible thing to watch. And then I don't know, I wouldn't say the wheels fell off for Villanova, but we didn't finish strong, nearly as strong as we wanted to, and compared to what we really showed we were capable of, knocking down threes early, getting after it on defense, and really restricting Maryland. But overall, you got to think, all right, they responded well. We got the win. You beat a solid Maryland Big Ten team by 17 points. You got to be happy. But a lot of people complaining about the last 10 minutes or so of the game. I'm just trying to say, hey, we got bigger fish to fry now on the battle for Atlantis. But give me your thoughts on the game and what you saw from the Wildcats.
So I'm definitely happy with how the game started. I think that was one of the biggest things that was going against us this year.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to just say this year. There's been times in the past too where there's been Villanova teams that started slow, but we're going to talk about this year's team. So one of the biggest things was the slow starts, and I like how they responded against Maryland. Came out, got a great start, and you think about it, with the second half that we had, if we don't start like that, we probably lose that game. Like, seriously, if you think about it, we started out great. We built up a really good lead. Second half came, we really didn't score that many points. Maryland didn't score that many points either, but that's usually a recipe for like disaster when it comes to Villanova basketball. Slow start, team gets ahead, and now we're fighting to get back, and we end up losing the game because we ran out of time.
Yeah,
In
you're
this
right. You're right.
situation, yeah,
25-18, they outscored us in the second half. So
yeah. So that's what I mean. That's that fast start really helped us, and we built a lead, and we was able to win the game. So I feel like that was one of the biggest factors of us winning that game was starting the way we did start. Now let's get to the second half. Like you said, they beat us, outscored us 25-18.
that's right.
So yeah, that is something that we need to work on. That is something that we can't allow to happen, especially to a good team in the second half, giving up that many points. It's not gonna look good for us. So I think that's something we need to work on. I did speak with Neptune, and I did speak with Coach Howard again, just after the win against Maryland. Just to basically congratulate these guys and say, hey, good job, way to respond. And both of them said the same thing. Thanks, A-Ray, but we got to play better in the second half.
Mm.
Like, they both said the same thing. So I think it just goes to show, and it puts in my head that, these guys are really out here and trying to do right by the program and like telling it how it is. You know what I'm saying? They could have easily been like, yeah, thanks, A-Ray, cool. But it's like, yeah, A-Ray, came out good, but we didn't play good in the second half. Like, we got to fix that. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that response, and I'm happy with the way that the team played. And going forward, I think that this would be an emphasis going into next game against Texas Tech in the battle for Atlantis. So I want to see how the guys respond in the second half. Because me personally, I don't think that this Texas Tech team is really that good. But I don't want to jinx anything. I don't think they're that good. But let's just see how we play in the second half against a team like Texas Tech in battle for Atlantis.
I hear you, Ray, and like you said,
say Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a tongue twister for sure. But the bottom line is, Ray, they're a Big 12 team. They kind of come in with the, I guess you would say, the prestige of being a pretty successful program, especially in recent years. Every year it seemed, at least when they were being coached by Chris Beard, right? Remember him in that 2018 team? Those guys were tough. They had Jared Culver. Those guys were very defensive minded. They could score down low when they needed to, but they were more so suffocating on defense, and that was kind of their MO. Right now, they've beaten up on some bad teams. They're 3-0. Villanova is now, they're going to be their first test, if you'd like to, say a power conference team.
For sure.
And listen, we should go out and win this game tomorrow and at least get to the next round of the battle for Atlantis. But I completely agree with what you had to say in terms of you're going to have to play a complete game. And if you look at our track record of the first 4 games of the season, we have really yet to play a full 40 minutes of Villanova basketball. It's been, okay, we look great here to start the game against Maryland. We're up 31 points. Awesome. But then you can't score 39 points in the first half and then wind up with 57. Like, that's just a red flag, right? And we all know what happened against Penn. We never really were able to get that game under control. We were never really to impose our will it was Penn basically in control the entire time. And obviously against Lemoyne, against American, it's a little bit different story. Sure, we looked great at times, but that's Lemoyne and American. The competition isn't really the same. So what we want to see from the guys on Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 start on ESPN, is a full game, come out strong and finish strong. No, I understand there's going to be lulls here and there. That's the name of basketball, right? You're going to get cold, but I want to see a complete defensive effort. You mentioned Texas Tech only shooting 20% from three, Ray. Like, these guys are not scorers. Okay, I know Texas Tech, they're a Big 12 team. They're well coached, they're disciplined, sure, but I feel like we are coming in with a more of an advantage in more ways than one. You look at some of the metrics, you look at the teams that we've played versus they've played, you look at some of the talent that we have that they're lacking. We should beat these guys, and be in control throughout the game. We shouldn't really be sweating this one out. I understand it's a Big 12 team. I understand we've had some battles with Texas Tech in the past, but we really, if we're going to take ourselves seriously in this tournament and have a chance to actually wind up winning another battle for Atlantis, we got to take care of business against Texas Tech and then move on and play which could be a dangerous number 14 team in the country in North Carolina the next round. So I'm not trying to dismiss them, the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, Ray, but it is certainly something where it winds up being like a matchup where it's like, okay, let's take care of these Red Raiders here.
No, definitely. This is a game where, like you said, like, we got to go out and take care of them. We can't play down to their level. These guys are not 3-point shooters. They have 15 turnovers a game. Let me see how many assists these guys average a game. 11 assists.
Right.
So it's not a lot of pretty basketball over there. So you don't want to stoop down to their level. And it's a thing that happens a lot in basketball to people that don't really follow basketball, the casuals. Let me tell you right now, there's times where when you see the top team lose to a lower team is because they played down to their level. And I think that's an important fact for us going into this game tomorrow, is not to play down at Texas Tech level and to play Villanova basketball for 40 minutes, because Villanova basketball will trump Texas Tech basketball.
Right. No,
yeah, I don't understand
100%.
why I'm having a hard time saying Texas Tech.
Nah, man, but I really do believe that if you take a look at this tournament field, and it's a tough one. We talked about it way back in May when it first got released, and we're like, all right, we're going to be in this Battle for Atlantis tournament. You got to love these Thanksgiving. The feast week really comes to life, and it's an early season litmus test to show you where you're at in terms of where you want to be at this point. And teams like Texas Tech, a Big 12 team, like that, this is a good program. And they're not supposed to be that great this year. I think they were kind of like all right, maybe they'll be a fringe bubble team. Like, I think Joe Lunardi had them in the preseason as like a 11 seed or something like that in the tournament. So it's not something where, like, okay, these guys are world beaters, but it's also not like their expectations were low going into the season. No, these guys are expecting to have a decent season, to be around 20 wins or something like that to get into the field of 68. And another team like Michigan, like Memphis, North Carolina, Arkansas, these are other really solid programs that are expected to have pretty successful seasons and wind up in the big dance. And this is exactly where you want to be in terms of, all right, how do we stack up compared to these squads, right? Are we going to be able to contend with them? Are we going to be able to handle their pressure that they bring? Are we going to be able to handle playing 3 games in 3 days? And I know this team is pretty deep that we have, so I'm pretty confident in that regard, but that's a whole nother subject. These guys that were in this Battle for Atlantis field are no joke. We just lost to Penn. They're a solid team as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up winning the Ivy League. But last year was a complete and utter disaster when it came to the Phil Knight tournament in Oregon, right? We lost to Iowa State, we lost to Portland, we lost to Oregon State. It was a disaster. And right away we were like, oh my God, the season's over. People were calling for Neptune's job. It was a really horrible feeling to have that early on in the college basketball season, right? Hey, Ray, it's Thanksgiving. I know it's like, oh my God, how's Thanksgiving already? But that is so early on in the college basketball sense of the season that we need to start stacking up some wins here and really just getting excited for Big East play because, oh man, we cannot be behind the 8 ball going into Big East play. We both know that it's going to be such a gauntlet night in, night out. Maybe you can say DePaul is a night off and you could chalk that up as a couple of victories when we play the Blue Demons. But aside from that, there are literally 0 easy games. It's going to be a grind, home, on the road, no matter what. So you have to start stacking up some wins here in November and December before you head into Big East play, or else you're really going to screw yourself when it comes to the committee looking at your resume and saying, oh, do they have any nice early season wins? Because we're going to get some in the Big East. That's great. But we have to start, finding a way to get maybe to 5-6 wins by when it's all said and done here at the end of this Thanksgiving weekend. Because, hey, Ray, people will hit the panic button if we're not playing in the championship game on Thursday. On Friday. Like, listen, if we lose to North Carolina in a close game, I think that's okay. That's fine, right? But we need to show up in Atlantis and actually prove to ourselves and to everybody else that we belong in a situation like this and to be looked at as one of the favorites to cut down the nets at the Bahamas. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech game is one of those games to show for Nova, like, we belong. Mm-hmm. Even though they're not like a ranked opponent, one of the top teams in the Big 12, it's still a upper caliber team compared to what we've played already. So I think it's definitely one of those moments, like you said, to show that we belong. And against North Carolina, I mean, it just depends. Honestly, I tell you like this. I'm looking at the Texas Tech game right now. I haven't really looked at North Carolina this year. Like, we beat Texas Tech, then I'll look and see about like North Carolina. But I just, it's just habit for me to take games like game by game, like not to overlook any other game. It's just habit. I learned that from Coach Rice. So I can't overlook Texas and then look at North Carolina. We got to beat Texas first, and then I'll look at North Carolina.
I got you, man. I'm just saying for the sake of our listeners,
Yeah, for sure.
because the next time we'll record will be after the tournament. We'll see. Maybe we can do something, post game or pregame, whatever. But it is the holidays. That's something that's tough to do. So we're gonna give it to you straight. We're gonna lay out the 3 games that hopefully we're playing in, and that's Texas Tech, number 14 UNC, and in the championship, if everything goes according to plan, Arkansas gets there, they're probably the favorite to win it because they're number 10 in the country. So if we somehow can beat Texas Tech, which I really think we should be confident about, play UNC, that's a tough game, no doubt about it. One of my buddies I work with, Mike Kinahan, is a big UNC basketball fan. He believes that they are severely overrated right now and doesn't believe that they are a top 15 team. So I will respect Mike's word because I trust him as a Carolina fan, and I think he trusts me as a Villanova fan, so I'll give him that. Number 14 team in the country, Carolina, I could see us going down on the wire with them, right? Villanova, UNC. Remember the last time we played them, Ray? I mean, come on, right? Exactly. So there's going to be some things swirling, some extra energy, some extra vibes, even if it is a Thanksgiving Day game early on in the non-conference schedule. It still will feel like it's March just based on the 2 programs that are going head-to-head. But, boy, to be where we're at now, and then once we talk again on Friday, we could be up, down, sideways, over the moon. We could be buried. Like, it is just
looking like the Forex market.
It is incredible, man, what the difference could be in these outcomes and what our mood is going to feel like on Friday, right? Like, we could go 3-0, cut down the nets. We would feel like $1 million. We're like, we're going to the Final Four, buy the tickets to Phoenix right now. Or we could be like, all right, I liked how we played. We came out, we showed that we belong, we proved ourselves, we hung tough with some good teams, we beat a good team in Texas Tech. Or we could be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? This is not what I expected. We're better than this, panic button type of mode. So this is what I'm saying with these next 3 days, Ray. We're 3 games in 3 days, no matter what. If we lose to Texas Tech, if we beat them, no matter what, we're playing 3 games in the next 3 days. And nightmare scenario, what we witnessed last year. Obviously, we're not accustomed to that since we've had so much success in early season tournaments in recent years. But boy, this feels like the pendulum could swing either way here in terms of being like, oh my goodness, I'm so fired up for Villanova. We are on fire right now. Nobody can stop us. Let's start Big East play now. Or we could be like, oh my goodness, we have so much work to do. We're so behind the 8 ball, like I mentioned, which is where we do not want to be after this 3-game stretch. So I'm extremely nervous, if you can't tell, but I'm also very excited because I really think that we showed some real cohesiveness, some real flashes of brilliance from Bamba, from Burton, Moore, Dixon, and the rest of the crew on Friday night. So I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I was after the Penn game. We had Coach Howard on to kind of calm us down, set the tone, and here we are now looking at these next 3 days saying, okay, let's get her done, right?
Yeah. How great was that having Coach Howard come on the podcast the day after they lost and pretty much talking to us about what they're working on and how and what's their approach moving forward. I think that was amazing. And definitely want to shout him out and say thank you for coming on the show for sure. But going back to what you said, I mean, I get it, and like even when I was playing, like we went to Maui. Like we went to Maui. Yes, we wanted to win the tournament, but we took it game by game. Like we go into the Big East tournament, we want to win the Big East tournament, but we want to take it game by game. So that's where that approach comes at with me. But I definitely get what you're saying, and as a fan, you want to go out and see your team win. Like even against North Carolina, I just feel like you come to Villanova and like you come to the Big East because you want to play in these type of games. You want to play against North Carolina. You want to play against UConn. So I'm looking for Villanova. We get past Texas. I'm looking for Villanova to put it on North Carolina. Like I'm not sitting back. I'm not going to be on my phone tweeting like, oh man, we're playing North Carolina. And, if we stay in the game with them and lose by single digits, like I'm happy. No, like I want them to win. You know what I'm saying? So this tournament is going to be a great tournament for us. And we're going to learn a lot about the team, even more than what we learned with Penn and how we responded to Penn. We're going to learn a lot more about this team in this tournament. So I think that's also exciting as well. But like you said, we don't want to be on the other side of it where it's like, oh man, Villanova is terrible and fire Neptune and blah, blah, all this other stuff. That's just not the type of energy you want having hovering over the team.
Exactly right, A-Ray. And I do completely understand where you're coming from as well in terms of taking it game by game. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. And I know for a fact that Coach Neptune, Coach Howard, and the staff has the guys locked in, focused on one task and one task only, and that is the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Yeah. And I do have to, obviously my opinion might be slightly biased here, but I have to believe in them that they're going to be able to take care of business against Texas Tech in the first round of this Battle for Atlantis tournament, and then move on, and we'll see what happens. I do also love how we've talked about Villanova as, all right, you come to this program to be the best and play against the best, which is, you mentioned, the North Carolinas of the world, the UConns of the world, the Kansases of the world, the UCLAs, the Dukes, you name the top tier programs, Villanova is amongst those, no doubt about it. And last year obviously was not up to standard of what we're used to in terms of Villanova basketball. And now we're in a position where it's like, okay, we know we have the talent. We've seen it be done with Justin Moore, Eric Dixon, some of these transfers. Burton and Bamba have showed already. Hakeem Hart and Lance Ware, I think, are on their way to being key contributors. Lance, I love his energy. And when it comes to Mark Armstrong, Brendan Housen, some of the younger guys, we've seen what they can do as well. So now it's like, all right, let's put it together. And I know it's asking a lot to do it already. And we've talked about with Colin and Jermaine and Phil, some of the guys that saw it in practice, and they're like, hey, these guys are gelling already. Like it's happening already over the course of the summer months when they're in the Davis Center grinding it out at all hours of the day. But it's different. Like you always say this, Area, it's different when you're actually playing a game versus a scrimmage against Duke versus when you're playing the blue-white scrimmage on Hoops Mania night. It's much different, and now you're in this Atlantis battle for Atlantis environment where there are fan bases like the North Carolinas, the Arkansas, the Michigans, the Memphises. It's going to be a hectic weekend or a feast week, whatever you want to call it for these guys. And we're going to see the mettle of this team. We're going to see the mindset and what these guys are all about. And just knowing how just mentally tough Villanova basketball players are, and these guys specifically, Dixon, Moore, what Moore has gone through in his career, what we saw from him even against Penn when we were down big, and he would continue to knock down threes and keep us in the game and give us a shot, give us a chance. But now it's like, okay, we have the experience, we have the age, we have the talent, and it seems like we're starting to figure out where things go, who's carved out a role for this and that and the other thing. And now it's like, okay, let's see that in the first half. Let's see that in the second half for as long as we possibly can. Put it together, get some wins. And it doesn't have to be pretty, A-Ray, but defense and rebound. That's what it's going to come down to. That's what's so key on. Coach Howard talked about it. We always hear it from Villanova basketball. You know it firsthand. And playing 3 games in 3 days on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, it's not going to be easy, but I think this team is certainly capable of coming out with not just a couple of wins, but a really impressive performance and some gutsy down the stretch wins as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just by how they responded after the Penn game, just gives me confidence in this group that, they have the potential to change and they have the potential to fix mistakes and fix errors. So that definitely gives me a lot of hope with this team going forward. But like you said, this is still a big test. It's a big test for both teams, actually, to be honest. So I expect Texas Tech to come out with some fire and an attitude to like really win and to prove themselves against a team like Villanova. We always got a bullseye on our chest. It doesn't matter who we're playing against. We're always going to get the other team's best effort. And with Villanova, it's just being able to like sustain this and know like every game you play against, the team is going to come at you 100%. They're going to give it their all. You're going to get their best punch. So you got to sustain that, especially in the beginning of the game when emotions is high, adrenaline is pumping, guys is hitting shots on the other team. Like we need who's going to be there to like settle the team down. Like, hey guys, like they made a couple of shots, cool. Like let's not get out of character. Let's keep our composure and let's continue to play Villanova basketball. So I think that it's really going to come down, especially in a tournament like this, it's going to come down to the leadership of the guys on the court. It's not always the coach. Yes, the coach is responsible for some things that goes on in the game, some tactical things, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the players and how you play. Like the coach can't control the effort that a player gives on the court. You can beat it into a player all you want, but at the end of the day, if they don't give the effort, then they don't give the effort. That's not the coach's fault.
Right. No, 100%. I'm really glad you said that too, because a lot of our listeners, a lot of our fans, a lot of Villanova, just basketball people in general, like to just point the finger at Coach Neptune when things aren't going according to plan, right? And it's tough to solely place any blame on him whenever we lose a game. And I think, like you said, these guys are going to have to show what they're made of on the court.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. It's not an easy thing to do, to play 3 games in 3 days and actually go out and win those 3 games, or actually put together consistency throughout those 3 games. You're going to be tired. There's going to be times, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to want to just call it quits. But I think that these guys have the mental toughness to get through that, whereas a lot of teams maybe are lacking a little bit more in that area. But I do love this team's experience, the age, the cohesiveness is coming together. We've seen flashes of it already, and they're going to really just need to kind of get after it when it comes to that energy level that we saw right away against Maryland on Friday night, if they're going to have as much success as we think they can. And to be perfectly honest with you, Ray, I really believe that they're going to find a way to get 2 wins this upcoming stretch here. I don't know how, but I think they're going to get 2. I don't know if that means they're gonna win against Texas Tech and UNC, but I think they're gonna get Texas Tech on Wednesday, and then they're gonna find a way to win one more game. I don't know if that's gonna be against Carolina or if it's gonna be against another team like a Memphis or a Michigan or whoever. But I really have confidence in this team to show up for this battle for Atlantis tournament and really prove to themselves and to everybody else that, okay, we're here. We're doing our thing. We're doing exactly what you thought we were going to do, what's expected of us. And we're going to raise the bar and continue to raise that bar as the season progresses, because this is what we do. This is what we're made of. And I really think when we sit down and talk to our next guest on Friday night to kind of dissect what went on during Feast Week around the Big East and things like that, we're going to be proud of this Villanova team. And I can't tell you anything else other than having Coach Howard on last week and then seeing how we played at least some of the game on Friday night. That is what I'm picturing right now. That's what's in my head and thinking, okay, like this is what we wanted to do. We responded well. And you said we're going to learn more about this team. But I think what we've learned from them already is the reason why I'm confident that we're going to go ahead and get 2 wins down in the Bahamas.
Yeah. I agree with you too. And I don't care if it's ugly. Like, get an ugly win. Everything not going to be pretty all the time. Mm-hmm. That's what the fans want. The fans want their game to be pretty. They want us to cover the spread. They want us to win by 20. Yeah, that's what the fans do. But
yeah,
get it out the mud. I take an example. I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. If I'm not mistaken, Jalen Hurts, he said this last night. And it's not word for word, but it's kind of in the same area what he was saying. The reporter asked him about like this team and like what it is about the Eagles that make them so great. And he was just like, we're not even playing our best football right now, but we're still winning games. Like they're playing ugly, but they're getting the job done. And that's been my main thing for years since I've been on Twitter or even been doing this. That's one of the things I've been saying all the time. Like, I don't care if we missing shots. I don't care if we shooting 20% from 3. Like, we still can win the game. We just got to grind it out and get those wins. And Jalen Hurts said the same thing yesterday. They not playing the greatest, but they still getting wins. So you got to be happy with that.
Yeah. No, and that's what makes Jalen Hurts and the Eagles so great is their ability to win any type of way, right? They can really slop it up, get down and dirty. I mean, Hurts didn't even throw for 150 yards last night, and they still somehow beat the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Exactly.
They find ways to win, and they can play. If they have to go score and make it pretty, like you said, and put up a bunch of points, they can go put up 35. If they need to muck it up, get down and dirty, maybe cause a turnover here and there, make a big play on defense, and run it up your gut, like we see with the brotherly shove all the time from the Eagles. So, hey, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I definitely love that comparison there because that's exactly what they're doing. That's the only reason why they're 9-1 is because they just find ways to win in any style possible. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but they're going to get it done. And that's what we want to see. And I know we see Coach Wright tweeting all the time about how much he loves Jalen Hurts and his football IQ and his ability just to make plays when he needs to, and not just a play, but the necessary play, whether that be, a scramble, a run, a pitch, a QB sneak. The way that Hurts is able to step up and make that necessary play, no matter what, in the rain, in a beautiful sunshine day, it doesn't matter. They're going to find a way to get it done, and that's what I want to see from this Wildcat team in Atlantis. And I really do believe that we're going to be able to find a way to get 2 wins. So hold me to that, A-Ray. I'm not going to ask you to predict anything specific, but do you have to agree with me there? You like the 2-win total out of these next 3 days?
I like us for sure. I like us beating Texas Tech. I like us beating them.
Yep.
I like us beating them for sure.
Okay.
And then I haven't really watched much of North Carolina, so or their opponent and who they're playing, because I'm not going to automatically say North Carolina's going to win.
I played Northern Iowa, so yeah.
I'm still not going to say that they automatically going to win. We in the time right now in college basketball and basketball period where the Davids are beating the Goliaths. Like they really are. There's a lot of look at FAU right now. Like, who the hell would expect them to be the team that they are and do what they did last year, and they still doing good this year. So those days of me just writing off these weaker teams, I just can't do it as much now because these guys are really going out here proving themselves.
But
I feel like we can win. I feel like we could get those 2, especially against North Carolina. North Carolina's a rival for us too.
Yeah.
Ever since that damn travel call, I feel like there's been a lot of animosity towards North Carolina, and I'm all for it.
Oh no! Come on now. It's a battle.
We want to play North Carolina. We do.
Oh no, that's the bottom line, right? I think that would be so much fun for both the programs. A lot of people would be like, "Oh man, this is great." I mean, the football games are always fun on Thanksgiving, right? You think Thanksgiving you associate with football, but some really awesome college basketball matchups on Thanksgiving Day as well. Yeah. I mean, Nova and Carolina rematch the 2016 title game would be pretty special. So we're hoping for that. And I mean, God willing, we pull out the win. But I also wanted to mention St. Joe's, a fellow Big 5 school, forced overtime with Kentucky in Lexington last night. Dude, I thought they were going to win the game. And of course, I think they all end up losing by 8 in overtime.
Yes.
Oh my God, the Big 5, let's go, baby. But did not end up happening. But it shows, man, the Big 5 is not, is a force to be reckoned with. They're no joke. You cannot sleep on these guys. So when we play St. Joe's in the battle of the Big 5, the Big 5 showcase in Philly at the Wells Fargo Center, that should be interesting as well, because those guys, the Hawk is not dead, at least not yet. So. Very, very fun. I was keeping an eye on that game. I was like, oh man, I hope they keep it interesting, and they did. So, shout out to you guys, St. Joe's fans, the Holy War. We're definitely keep our eye on that one too when it's upcoming. December 2nd. We'll see. Before we know it, A-Ray, it'll be that time. But we gotta just say a couple more thanks to everybody that showed up on Friday night again, Alan. I mean, that was a ton of fun. We got to meet in person finally. Me, you, Nick at night, we're chopping it up. We had a lot of fun. Got to meet some of your family, which was great. You got to meet a bunch of my friends, and man, it was a ton of fun. And I'm so glad that we made that happen.
So, I think it was your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom came up to me and she was like, "Is that your mom over there?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my mom." She was like. She just gave me like a pause and like a sigh. I was like, "I'm going to introduce myself." She walked over there with it and like to go introduce herself to my mom and like my family and stuff like that. I guess she was waiting for me to do it, but I didn't do it in a hastily manner. So she was like, I remember she just came up to me. She was like, "That's your mom over there?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I'm going to go introduce myself." Yeah, so she went over there and introduced herself. But I thought that was cool. And then also another funny moment was somebody come. So I had my sister came there and she brought her daughter, which is my niece.
Yeah.
And this was my first time seeing my niece. She's a newborn. She's like 4 months. So my sister brung her to the bar. Yes, like she brung the baby to the bar because I wanted to see the baby. So we're in the bar and some guy comes up to me. He's like, dude, like who the F brings a baby to the bar? He's like,
Oh my gosh.
he's like, who the F brings a baby to the bar? And like he starts laughing, and then like I'm laughing too, and I'm like, yeah, man, you're right. I'm like, yo, that's my niece. And he's like, oh. So if y'all can't see me, if y'all listening to this on a podcast
Yeah.
and not watching on YouTube, like I'm showing you what the guy did after I told him it was my niece. I'm like, that's my niece. And he's like, oh man. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. But it was all good. I just thought that was hilarious. With the watch party. And then, but other than that, I mean, it was great. It was a bunch of people there. We had the game on. We got some merch out.
Yeah.
We got some people wearing some Raynin threes gear.
Yeah, man.
I had a blast. Thank you to Shaffer for that too. I've seen a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while too, and met a lot of new people.
Yeah, that's right. Shaffer, James Shaffer played at Hofstra under Jay Wright. His senior year was Jay's first year. So it was like just a little bit of overlap, but still a very cool situation there. Those guys still keep in touch. And I remember one of my buddies texted Jay and was like, oh, we were just at Schaefer's bar in the city. This was like, long before. This is when we were watching the 2022 Final Four run games over there. And Jay replies back, is like, oh, love Shaffer. That guy's tough as nails. So we got all jacked up about that.
Wright.
There'll be a Coach Wright-ism, right?
Yeah, that sounds just like Coach Wright. He loves saying that stuff.
Yeah. So
he's tough as nails.
Yes. Just so much fun, man. And it was, I really appreciate you flying up for that. We made it happen. Villanova got the win. We sold a lot of merch. Everybody was repping, and we have some giveaways for you guys, or you listeners out there. A-Ray was kind enough to sign some of our merch, and we're going to be gifting that out to some lucky winners that are able to follow myself, A-Ray, the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram. It's going to be fun. So we got a lot of great stuff for you guys coming up.
Free stuff, y'all. Free stuff.
Yeah. Free signed Raynin Threes gear. This is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. And another special guest coming up this weekend after the Battle for Atlantis tournament. We're going to recap that. It's going to be a ton of fun. Really just appreciate all the love and support that we've gotten. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. And it's going to be a fun next few days. But just calm down and just listen to A-Ray, right? Just stay calm, listen to A-Ray, and we're going to be okay, because I really think the Wildcats will go out and win a couple of games for us. So appreciate you, A-Ray. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Oh, definitely all the time. And really looking forward to tomorrow's game. Looking forward to the Battle of Atlantis. This is going to be good for us. This is that part of the year where a lot of questions get answered. And, we really see what this team is made of. And it's a holiday. We get to be with our families. So, we can't overlook that. So just want to say happy Thanksgiving to you, your family. Happy Thanksgiving to Nick at Night and his fam. And, just really hope for a win and good vibes. Good vibes for the rest of the week.
Yes, most definitely. I'm most thankful for...
No fighting. A lot of fighting last week. No fighting this week.
No fight. I'm thankful for peace and love, Nick at Night, and A-Ray. I mean, what a great time this has been for the Raynin Threes podcast. So I'm your host, Michael O'Connell, with Alan Ray, Nick at Night. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We appreciate y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving from Raynin Threes. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.